Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm an artist, and in this video I'm going to be going over one of my recent paintings, Just Work Harder. I'm going to go over my thought process, how I start a painting, the painting process itself, some of the symbolism, and then a little bit of general art inspiration. So let's go. Normally I have a random idea that I put on a notes app, or I like write down on a piece of paper and tack up to my wall. It's normally the process, but I start with an idea and then I start compiling reference photos or going over reference photos I have, or sometimes even looking through like painting books or art books that I have, and kind of fleshing out the idea. Or if it's something like this, where I'm working, this painting is about class. So I'm working from sort of my class consciousness and talking about the working class and poverty and cycles of poverty and systemic issues. Then I start thinking about the symbols of that to make this still life, which is what I ended up doing. So generally I've got my reference photos in a separate folder on my computer screen so that I can like categorize and know what reference photos I'm looking at, and then I can open them all at once and kind of hop back and forth if I need to. Some of them I work more directly from. Some of them are sort of an amalgamation of different reference photos. Sometimes I'll use the pattern for one, but the positioning of another, and lighting, and like this wood grain is what I used for the background of one of the window panes. And I have like several stained glass photos and water glass reference photos. So it kind of just depends on my needs. So the idea for this painting that I started with was broken windows policing, or broken windows theory, which is a theory that encourages policing of areas with like disorderly environments. So where small laws have been broken, like throwing something at a window or graffiti, and then using that to police and observe, because there's probably bigger issues there. And this is like a controversial policing tactic. There's no evidence that this has ever worked to stop bigger crimes. The only evidence is that poor communities that are often filled with BIPOCs, they are over-policed and harassed. So that's the theory that I'm working from. And I know that not everyone, I know that not everyone agrees with that. I don't understand. There are several articles about this. I'll link them below. Several other artists that have worked from this same theory. So I started working from this broken window theory as a bigger representation of class and class structure. And I started putting together a still life that's a representation of class and my lived experience as a person of color who's experienced the working class life. So this is just an example of kind of a comparison between the reference photos that I compiled and my beginning drawing. Things definitely change around, and you'll see that as I start the painting process. And we talked about the larger topics of this painting. So I started with the background, moved forward to the other details. The piggy bank to me represents this idea that we can save enough to be able to rest and to have the things that we want. And the lottery ticket has been referred to as a tax on the poor. You have a 1 in 300 million chance. The pennies are another, like rubbing two pennies together. We are given very little to do, and we do so much, and we are only able to scrape by. This is a little detail of the doily, sort of the fragility and the uselessness of this sort of cycle. And then this is the finished piece of Just Work Harder and some of the smaller details. So this still life that I compiled is pretty emblematic of what I do. I generally work on social issues, and even the paintings that seem a little bit less about sort of our current social predicaments, kind of sort of still are. And they can feel like big, heavy, hard topics, but you know, my contribution as an artist to society is to talk about the things that I experience and the things that the people around me and in my community and in my life experience. And they may seem really like big, heavy topics. Why can't you just paint, you know, more skeletons, which I do love to do, but it's my feels like my responsibility. And this is my contribution to that. Art is meaningful. I want to invoke these sort of emotions, and art is of course up to interpretation, but this is sort of where I'm coming at from this painting. And maybe you take something, maybe it seems lighter or more humorous, and my paintings to me are often funny. I like to add a little bit of humor, like the piggy bank is sort of smiling, things like that. And or it may seem darker to you, or to the audience at large. And even putting this out on other social media platforms, I've gotten interpretations that I didn't even think about, which I love so much. So that's just a little bit about a painting that I finished recently that I really loved. And I wanted to talk about my process and the thoughts behind the painting. I'll do a little bit more of that, but let me know I guess what you thought, or any other thoughts or thoughts about what you'd like to see, if you're interested in this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I have an Instagram at revv_art and a TikTok, same name, no underscore. I've got a Patreon. All of that is linked on my website and below. So thank you so much. And I'll be babbling about something else next time. So maybe I'll go a little bit later. Maybe it'll be a little more fun, but thank you so much.